Have you ever felt like you're carrying someone else's feelings, solving problems that aren't yours, and the next morning you wake up feeling drained, resentful, and behind on your day? That's the reality of codependency, and the way out is through boundaries. Somewhere along the way, their burden became your responsibility, and you've been carrying more than you were meant to carry. But Jesus said in Matthew 11:30, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." Today we're going to talk about how to create healthy boundaries so you can break free from codependent patterns, protect your peace, and love people well without losing yourself. I'm going to share how boundaries can help you reclaim your identity and lead yourself well so you can lead others better. Now, what is codependency? Let's take a quick look at what that means or what that looks like. Codependency is when your sense of worth, identity, or peace depends on others being okay. So you avoid saying no because of fear of rejection. You rescue others at your expense of your own well being. And you feel responsible for other people's happiness. You feel anxious when they're upset, even if it has nothing to do with you. Drop your own priorities to fix their problems, and struggle to say no because you're afraid they'll be disappointed or angry. Now, this isn't just a relationship pattern, it's a cycle that can quietly chip away or erode at your mental, emotional, and even physical health. And without boundaries, that cycle can keep you stuck for years. And believe me, I've been there. So there's codependency and there's boundaries, and both are very heavy topics. Why codependency makes boundary creating or boundary implementing hard is because fear of conflict or disappointing people, belief that good means self-sacrifice without limits. So someone who is codependent believes that we are doing something good for someone else, and it makes us feel a little more safe when everyone is happy. But there's no limits. So then that drains us, and we're going to end up with burnout, anxiety, and stress. Okay. And so I always say there's a line to everything. So all the subjects we talk about on this channel, there's a spectrum, and we're always trying to get ourselves back to the middle. So codependency is crossing the line over to basically abandoning ourselves, and that is not helpful. So imagine thinking that empathy, compassion, love, and care, and all these good traits, imagine that we're saying that they're sometimes they're not so good because we're sacrificing ourselves and our well-being. And so let's harness those traits that we have because not everybody has them, right? So someone who is codependent is very strong in very strong character traits that can really help people. But we've gone too far with our own needs not being met. And what can get us out of this mess are boundaries. So boundaries that can help us go back to the middle, setting limitations on how much we're pouring out. So in our last boundary video, we said you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? So we need to be filled up so that we can love with balance, right? The next point is confusing love with control or overhelping. So we don't think, and I say we because I've been through this and I'm not completely healed, but I have overcome it and I do understand. And that's why I'm here to help you, is that when you're trying to control your environment for everyone to be at peace, or you're over helping people and you're saying no to yourself. We're confusing that as love, but then we're not loving ourselves. We lose ourselves. We lose our self-respect. And then that's the ripple effect of that behavior. And then guess what? You would probably feel walked on. Yeah? Do you feel like a carpet sometimes that people walk all over you? That's a symptom of codependency because we are pouring out without limits. And the last point of why codependency makes boundaries hard is guilt when prioritizing yourself. So I grew up thinking, I, I guess being told that if you think about yourself or you do things for yourself or you put yourself first, it's selfish and it's wrong. But there's truth to the spectrum, right? It's like we need to be cared for and other people need to be cared for. We are them too. We are the human race. And so it's not okay to not take care of yourself, just as you would take care of someone else, right? So we're going to lead and love ourselves in the same way that we're going to lead and love others. And that's a beautiful thing. Okay. Boundaries are not rejection, they're protection for you and the people that you have relationships with. Okay, so here are 3 ways that boundaries help codependency. It will protect your energy so you can serve from overflow and not exhaustion. You can stay in your lane and keeping responsibility for your own life and not someone else's. So this is in codependency context because, of course, I am a parent, I am a business owner, I am a leader, and I love helping other people. But there's a line, and if I'm codependent and overgiving, this is the context, okay? So yes, we are here to help other people and guide our children and guide our team. But we aren't taking it on to solve it for ourselves. That is what a coach does. That's what a therapist does, or someone that is a leader or to help. We are here to guide you and help you or be a shoulder to cry on or take advice from. But we are not supposed to be taking on the whole entire problem on ourselves so that we are burdened by it. We need to take responsibility for our own life, our own problems, and help guide other people along as well. Now, this is where Jesus comes in because his yoke is easy and he can handle it. He can take everyone's burdens on, the whole entire world. He can take it, and we can't. So we have the ultimate source of power and energy to help us with that. We don't have to carry it. Okay. Which brings me to point number 3 is honor God's design. He never asked you to carry burdens that he didn't assign to you. Okay. Boundaries free you from carrying emotional weight that's not yours. So you can actually be more present and helpful in moments that matter most. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the meat of this video, which is the benefits of boundaries for healing this codependency with sectioning it off with mind, body, and soul. Okay, so how do you think just about codependency in the mind? When we think of healing our minds, I always start with clarity, that we need clarity, right? And we need to know where our identity is, and what authority are you basing your decisions on? I always start there, right? And so our alignment is with God and what He wants, what His way is, and our identity is in Christ. And so this will start to bring you clarity of the mind. And then once you put boundaries in place, if you are codependent, you will stop living on other people's emotional roller coasters. Okay? I think our own emotional roller coaster is exciting enough and a lot of ups and downs and loops and possibly screaming or feeling like throwing up. So I think that's a lot. Each person is a lot. So the benefit of a boundary for your mind is in codependency is that you stop living on other people's emotional roller coaster. Does that give you a good picture? Okay. You start hearing your own thoughts and preferences. Now, I can attest to this. With all of the work that we do from the other podcast, which is overwhelm and burnout and stress, okay? It takes a lot of work for personal development, personal growth, leading yourself first and loving yourself first. It's not something that we can do overnight, right? And so with this beautiful care for ourselves and stopping and taking the time to align ourselves with our values and our mission, you will start to be able to hear your own thoughts and what you prefer to do. And there is a barrier there that because we have this pattern, it's a subconscious pattern that we have created and been conditioned throughout life, that we are always trying to help the other people around us so that we feel comfortable and safe, that everyone is okay. And so when we start breaking through this, then you're going to actually start to choose what actually brings you peace in that situation, even if other people are not at peace and they have their own things. And what do you need in that moment that is not selfish to think of? We need to think about, what is the best thing here? What do I have control over to actually do? We can't make everyone feel better and happy. We can't make anybody do anything. Okay. So that's a really great point. Number 3 in mind is decisions become based on values and not on others' moods. So I did touch on that, right? When you know who you are and what your purpose is and what is right for you, for your peace, how you want to be loved, how you want to give love, what is right and wrong for you, your decisions will become based on that instead of what everyone else feels and thinks. Okay? It's very freeing. I'm enjoying it. I have overcome this, and it is definitely freeing, and it's like turning over a new leaf. Okay? So an example for this, an example boundary would be like, I can't talk about this right now. I need space to think. Or I can't talk about this right now, but maybe in about half an hour. Okay? I need to gather my thoughts, and you know what the capacity is that you have to be there for someone. Okay, so codependency affects our bodies, okay? It's your energy and your peace, and we feel that. Our nervous system is going crazy, and I've mentioned before that there's tightness in my chest or in my muscles and my calves, and sometimes we don't realize how much we're up here with our shoulders, and so stress affects our bodies, right? For boundaries in codependency, there will be less physical exhaustion from overextending or overexerting yourself. So we're going above and beyond what we need to do for others. And then we are going to exhaust our whole entire body. And I know that this can also, which is the next point, improved sleep and reduce stress when you stop over functioning for others. So this leads to our reduced sleep. And so these types of things, when we take other people's problems on, plus our own, we're worrying, right? And we are not sleeping because of this, and that affects our bodies. And you will receive improved sleep and reduced stress. Number 3 is time for your own needs, exercise, rest, and health. So there are physical boundaries that we need to create for ourselves to take care of our own bodies. So I find that parents do this a lot with their kids, is that if you're always putting your kids and everything else first and you're not taking care of yourself, this goes for any leadership position where we're always there for everyone else, right? If you don't carve out time and have good time management for yourself, then you're not taking care of yourself the way that you care about others. If you want someone to take care of themselves, eat well, rest, exercise, for example, what about you, right? What about taking time for your own needs? When you fill this up, then you'll be able to love from your overflow, okay? So an example for this boundary is I can help on Saturday morning, but I won't be available for the rest of the weekend. And I do have people in my life that are really good at that, and I admire it. I admire that they know exactly what they're capable of, when they can, they know their schedule, and they're not afraid to say, I can do this at this time, but I have I have to, I have other things to do for the rest of the weekend, right? And that is because a codependent person might feel like they should be there the whole weekend if that's maybe what was asked, right? If they could maybe help move or help out, and you feel obligated to be there the whole time, and then you sacrifice yourself and your own health. Okay, let's go on to soul, okay? Now, this is like where your mind and emotions live, right? And your spirit. And this is where your heart leads you. And in codependency, boundary benefit would be that you can love without controlling, manipulating, or any resentment. So if you have resentment piling up, it's because we are not getting what we expect, and we are giving and not receiving maybe the same thing that we are giving out, and we're not receiving that back, or we're not able to create that environment that we are struggling to have. And so the benefit would be that you're going to be able to love and in freedom and accept that other people have to do the same thing for themselves. Okay? Relationships are built on mutual respect and choice. So just like God, He does not force us to love Him. He does not force us to follow Him, right? They, he gives us free will, and we are to model after that. It's that simple. We are to model after God with relationships. We need to learn, and I remember I say we because I've been a codependent person, that we need to let others make their own choices. And I find that what comes out of that is I need to deal with not receiving what I wanted, not going the way that I thought it would go. But what am I supposed to do in that situation, right? What am I now going to do? What am I going to accept? And how am I going to deal with that decision? And is it okay? Are these behaviors okay, or are they not? Do I need a boundary for what's happening? And number 3 is you grow in alignment with your God-given purpose. Okay. So now you're not meshing into other people's lives, and there is a line of where you end and the other person starts. That's what a boundary is. It's an invisible line of where your life is and the other person's life begins. And so now when you're not over in everyone else's stuff, we can just stay in our lane and stay aligned with what our purpose is. And so a good example of a boundary for that is I can pray for you and support you, but the decisions are yours to make. Okay. So with coaching, even training in my cafe that I've had and just people that I've mentored is basically that kind of like Neo in the Matrix or Morpheus is that he said, Neo, I can show you the door, but you have to walk through it. So now is a really great time to remind you of the 3-step framework for boundaries. Okay? Number 1, identify the weed. Where am I feeling resentful, exhausted, or overcommitted? Number 2, clarify the need. What is the healthy limit that you need to protect your peace? And number 3 is communicate and reinforce. Be clear, calm, and consistent. If boundaries are not a one-time announcement, okay? We can't expect someone to just do it because those are behavior changes. So we're changing our behavior with not accepting behavior, but we are also not controlling what someone else is going to do. They need to learn how to care for you and love you because you're giving them this information and it's going to take time. So before our soul food challenge, we are going to just talk a little bit about leading yourself first in this context. So with codependency, we can't model healthy relationships if you're living in this emotional enmeshment. Okay. So if we're mixed in and we don't have that invisible line, then we can't model healthy relationships because we're being that unhealthy source. Okay. And codependent people also are operating in the belief that other people are going through things that are wrong and hard and not identifying that this overgiving is toxic as well. And so boundaries will teach your kids, friends, and team members self-respect. And people will trust leaders. They will trust you if you're more balanced and not burned out. Okay, so remember we talked about burnout. And if you're leading with burnout, there's a ripple effect of that. And because you're modeling it, And that's what people are going to end up being a product of your burnout. And so that's not going to work, right? And so you will be trusted when you are more balanced. And your example frees others to set their own healthy boundaries. So we can mirror, right? And once you have a healthy boundary, and maybe they don't, then, and they're also used to how you were behaving codependently. So once you have a boundary, that's where that repetition comes in, and learning and strengthening the boundary and the like acting it out and seeing it through. Okay, that takes a lot of work. But as this really great example, there's a ripple effect of having others set their own healthy boundaries too. So, your soul food for today, I'm going to read you Matthew 11:28-30, which is the scripture with the yoke. Okay. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So freeing and taking layers of stress off. That's what I feel when I hear that. It's very encouraging. Okay. Now, this week, your soul food challenge is identify one area where you feel over responsible for someone else's life or feelings. Write it down and then set one small boundary to protect your peace, even if it's just saying, I need to get back to you on that. Okay. If you're ready to love people without losing yourself, start by asking God to show you where you're carrying more than what He's asked you to. Okay? Boundaries aren't about shutting people out, they're about creating the space to live the way God intended for you to live, light, free, and full of peace. If this episode has helped you, hit the like button and subscribe to the Growth Table Co. and share this with a friend who's been feeling weighed down. And remember, the best way to lead others is to lead yourself first. Breaking free from codependency is a journey, and boundaries are the road. They make space for you to be you, and for others to be themselves, and for love to be free. Thank you for joining me on the Growth Table Co. From where you are, just as you are. See you in the next one.